Okay, so are you ready to dive into something kind of juicy? I mean, this one's got everyone talking, and it's called Super Forbidden Love, and it's a webcomic by Casey Tay.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah, and it's got people talking, especially because it's got, how do we say, mature themes,
Mm.
which is kind of the interesting part.
It is, and it's interesting how Casey Tay kind of takes those classic, young adult themes like sibling rivalry, first love, all of that, but like injects it with this dose of reality that you usually don't see.
Totally. It's like
Yeah.
they were like, let's talk about sexuality, self-discovery, but make it real, make it authentic.
Yeah.
And they chose an interesting pair to kind of explore that with twin siblings, Ambrosius and Camilla, Alabama.
Right.
And so, he's Mr. Popular.
Right.
She's basically invisible,
Especially compared to
especially compared to him. And the comic really leans into that contrast. And you see it from like the very first chapter. Ambrosius has got like adoring fans tripping over themselves to like breathe the same air as him. And Camilla is over there in the corner, like giving him the finger,
Yeah.
like literally.
And it's funny, but it also is a little bit of a kind of like foreshadowing, right? Like there's a deep-seated resentment there that's really fueling, I think, a lot of their dynamic.
Totally. And it's not just like a surface level, oh, he's popular, I'm not. It really digs into how those societal expectations, especially around being popular, can warp how we see ourselves and how we see our relationships.
Yeah.
And we see that like even in chapter 2 when he's like, hey, let's go for a run.
Right.
He is so excited to have her join him, and she like totally misreads it
Completely.
and thinks he's mocking her.
Yeah, she's like, you're just trying to make me feel bad.
Yeah, exactly. And, talk about a recipe for disaster.
Totally.
And you see that, like, and I think that scene, it also does something really interesting because it introduces us to Ambrosius and kind of flips the script on that whole stereotypical popular kid trope.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, he's not driven by ego. He's not, like, trying to, put her down or anything. He actually seems to genuinely crave a connection with her, which is, I don't know, kind of heartbreaking in a way, right?
Yeah, it is. He's lonely.
He's lonely at the top.
Yeah.
But then again, you have that scene where the kid's like, can I be your bathroom?
Oh my God.
And it's like, okay, well, I get it.
I can see why you might be a little lonely.
I see why you're trying to, like, escape into this relationship with your sister.
Exactly. Escape the masses.
Even if she does shoot daggers at you.
Yes, because he really does try. Like, he makes her breakfast every day, and she just assumes the mom did it.
Right.
There's a real disconnect there.
It's like they're speaking two different languages.
Yeah.
And I think, it takes a pretty dramatic event to kind of shake things up.
It does.
And we see that happen in chapter 4 with Camilla's meltdown.
Yes.
I mean, talk about an epic meltdown.
Your girl goes off.
She gets herself suspended, and guess who just happens to be there to witness the whole thing?
Ambrosius without his sunglasses.
Right.
Which is a big deal.
Which is a big deal.
He never takes those off.
We finally see, like, a little bit of vulnerability there.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's a turning point, right?
Yeah.
Because it's the first time she sees her own, like, loneliness and her pain reflected back at her.
Exactly. And I think that's what's so terrifying for her in that moment.
Right.
Because she's finally seeing it.
And what does she do? She tries. She tries to, like, open up.
She tries.
But then he stumbles, when he's asking her to be his friend in chapter 7. And, it's heartbreaking.
It's those insecurities bubbling right back up. It's like she's terrified to let anybody in.
Oh, I know.
Even her twin.
And he doesn't give up, though.
Bless his heart.
He is like, there's something there I'm going to break through.
Yeah, he sees it.
And he pulls out those, like, Zombilla movie tickets.
Yes.
And it's like, aha.
Yeah.
This is it.
The light bulb moment.
This is how I'm going to connect with my sister.
Genius.
And it works. Like,
And
she finally agrees to hang out with him.
she does. She comes around.
And it's like, okay,
Yeah.
here we go. But that, of course, is a story for another part of our deep dive. And boy, does it ever, I mean, talk about a turning point, right?
Yeah.
We left off Camilla finally agreeing to spend time with Ambrosius, and bam, chapter 8 hits you with that crazy accident scene.
Oh, tell me about it. It's such a Casey Tay move, though. Take something kind of lighthearted and then, boom, heavy dose of drama to, like, really get you on the edge of your seat.
Right.
Screeching tires, Ambrosius shoving Camilla out of the way. You've got blood, broken glasses.
I know, it's intense.
Intense.
I swear I gasped out loud the first time I read it. And just when you think, okay, this is it, he's a goner.
Right.
Casey Tay throws another curveball,
Because of course he survives.
Of course.
Battered and bruised, but very much alive.
Yeah, but you know what really got me about that scene?
What's that?
That's the first time we see Ambrosius genuinely angry.
Oh, absolutely.
And I don't mean like the playful teasing.
No.
This is raw, like primal fear.
He's furious with her.
Yes.
Yeah.
Furious with Camilla for being reckless, for putting herself in danger. Like, that's his little sister.
Exactly. And I think that's ultimately what breaks through Camilla's walls.
Right.
Because it's one thing to hear someone say, I care about you, but to see that raw emotion, the terror in his eyes when he thinks he's lost her,
Oh my gosh, yes.
that's a game changer.
Totally. It's like all of a sudden she's seeing him as this vulnerable, human being.
Exactly, that humanizes him.
Yeah. Not this untouchable, invincible superhero. And I think in that moment of shared vulnerability, that's where their dynamic really starts to shift.
100%.
But as if that wasn't enough of an emotional roller coaster.
And it just completely breaks down those walls,
Mm-hmm.
And by the end of chapter 9, not only is she seeing him differently, but she's starting to see herself differently, too.
Exactly. And with that new self-awareness
Yes.
comes a whole bunch of new and confusing emotions, a lot of them unfamiliar.
For sure.
Remember that moment, chapter 10? That quiet moment where Camilla admits to herself she's feeling something more than sibling love?
Oh, yeah.
It's subtle.
It's subtle, but oh my God, it changes everything.
Right. It adds a whole other layer of complexity to their relationship. Because it's like that feeling when you realize, oh, this isn't just a crush anymore.
Right.
Things just got real.
Exactly.
And Casey Tay does not shy away from how messy that could be, especially because, hello, they're twins.
Yeah, they don't tiptoe around it, that's for sure.
No.
It's a brave move, tackling those taboo feelings head on, but it's also what makes the story so compelling.
Absolutely.
Because they're exploring the gray areas of, what it means to be human, to have these feelings. And I think that's really refreshing, especially in a medium that often shies away from that.
Totally. It's like we're so used to black and white, good, bad, right and wrong.
Right.
And this is just like, nope, life's messy.
It's messy.
And just as Camilla's wrapping her head around all of this, she walks in on a scene that throws for another loop.
Oh, no. What happened? Tell me.
Ambrosius in a fan.
Oh, boy.
And let's just say,
Yeah.
things were getting pretty heated.
Oh, okay. I see where this is going. And how does Camilla react?
Well, that's the thing. That scene, it's like a major turning point in her journey of self-discovery, right? Because remember, she's still so young,
Yeah.
and she's really just starting to, explore her own sexuality.
Of course.
So to witness that kind of intimacy, even if it's unintentional,
All right.
it triggers, a whole cascade of emotions in her.
And I bet it's not what you'd expect.
Exactly. Because she's not repulsed, she's not disgusted.
Oh.
Instead, she's curious,
Ooh.
a little confused,
Okay.
and maybe even a little intrigued.
Interesting. So it was like a switch flipped in her brain.
Yes. And it's fascinating how Casey Tai uses that scene to then transition into Camilla's own exploration of her body.
I love that.
It's not presented as something dirty or shameful.
Right.
It's just a natural progression of her journey.
Yes.
It's like that moment where you realize, oh, there's this whole other dimension to my physicality, and it's all about me.
Right. It's about you.
No judgment, no expectation.
Just pure discovery.
Exactly. And for Camilla, who spent so much of her life feeling unseen and unheard, that's incredibly powerful.
Oh, I bet.
It's like she's finally like, this is my body. This
Yeah.
is for me.
Exactly. And that's huge, especially for her. So much of her life has revolved around Ambrosius.
Right. Like she's finally stepping out of his shadow, at least in this one way.
Yeah. And it's interesting because even though this is, super forbidden love,
Right.
Casey Tay doesn't shy away from showing how powerful those first experiences with self-discovery can be.
Yeah, it's really beautifully done, actually.
It is. And they're not afraid to show the complexity of it all either.
Totally. It's not all fireworks and rainbows.
Right. Because even though Camilla's enjoying herself, there's this part of her that's like wrestling with guilt,
Oh, absolutely. And it's like, is this okay? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Especially, given her feelings for Ambrosius, it's like it all gets tangled up together.
Right. It's like this whole new layer of confusion gets added to the mix.
Yeah.
It's true. I mean, they show everything. Like, we're talking masturbation, even squirting. I mean, it's intense.
Yeah. And it's like, but then again, these are things that happen, right?
That's true. So is it better to just pretend it doesn't exist? Or to actually, try to show it, even if it makes people uncomfortable?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, I'm not even sure what the answer is. But you have to admit, Casey Tay's not shying away from it.
No, not at all. And then in the next chapter, they actually show it,
Yeah.
like in the drawings.
It's a lot. Like, I'm not even sure what to say about that. It's like, are they trying to be shocking or
Yeah.
is it something else?
Right, like what's the goal here?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because on one hand, it's like, this is real, this is what happens. But on the other hand, it's a webcomic. Where do you draw the line?
It's a lot to process, right? Like on one hand, you've got this really honest look at, you know, a young girl figuring things out. But on the other hand, it's like, whoa, is this too much?
Right. Totally. I mean, agree or disagree with how it's done, you got to admit Casey Tay is making us pay attention.
Right. Like it's easy to ignore these issues, but this comic, it's like they're shoving it in our faces in a way that's kind of powerful.
For sure. And it brings up all these questions about responsibility. Like, what do we owe young people when it comes to this stuff? How do we even begin to have these conversations?
Yeah, and it makes you think about the impact of art, too.
Totally.
It can be entertaining, yeah, but it can also make you think and even make you uncomfortable. And maybe that's a good thing.
It definitely stays with you. Like, this whole deep dive, it's really got me thinking about the power of these platforms. Webcomics, they're not just for laughs anymore.
Definitely not. They can be platforms for, well, pretty much anything. Like, look at Super Forbidden Love. It's controversial, yeah, but it's starting a conversation.
Exactly. And that's huge.
Huge. So yeah, big thanks to all of you for coming along on this deep dive with us. It's been, well, interesting to say the
To
least.
say the least.
And we hope it's given you a lot to think about.
For sure. And remember, keep asking questions, keep these conversations going, even if they're tough.
Couldn't have said it better myself. That's all the time we've got for this deep dive. Until next time.